keep up with this theme of data and analytics, one of the things that is typically challenging in a Trinidad and Tobago context, as well as a wider regional context, is trying to figure out a little bit more around what are people spending time doing, and how are they consuming digital technology. Now, yes, there are, and this has come up in some of the sessions before, there are some back of the envelope ways that we can get it. We can go into Facebook when we're doing an ad and we can try to figure out, how many profiles are there in Trinidad and Tobago and so on and so forth. But we know that in general there's another level that we're trying to get to. So I'm pleased to welcome Wendy Rock of SacodaServ. We're going to talk a little bit about a study that we have commissioned that is about just over halfway done, that Sacoda is driving for us. And we'll share some of the interesting data that's come to light thus far. We'll get into some discussions about it. Consider this to be a nice little sneak peek, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. So, Wendy?
Thank you so much, Ricky.
Great, thanks for joining us. So great, so I want to talk with you a little bit about the goal of the research as we kind of threw it out to you guys. You helped, we aren't research people, so you sort of helped us frame it and make sense of it. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was really very exciting when you did throw out this challenge to us, and the overarching question that we asked, when we developed our surveys, in that we decided to redesign specific questions where we would get responses about how the digitally active population in Trinidad and Tobago spend their time. What do they do? Where do they go? What are the platforms and services that they're using? What devices? And it was really interesting in designing these questions and actually sending enumerators out throughout Trinidad and Tobago to solicit responses.
Great. So tell us a little bit more about the folks that because you were out in the field, so tell us a little bit more about the folks that we talked to. I mean, we sort of said, hey, we want the young Trinidad and Tobago, but who did you actually get?
Okay, our sample size is 2,000, and we focused on, let's say, the millenniums, the 16 to 24s, but we did not neglect the 25 to 35 age group and the little older, perhaps people who look like me. But the focus really was on the 16 to 24. Yeah, special emphasis was placed on them.
Great. Yeah. So that's that millennials group that basically can't take their heads out of the phones, and five of them sitting around talking to each other, supposedly, but they're really all BBMing somebody else.
That's right. We found that to be prevalent.
Okay, great.
They were all plugged in.
Okay, all right, great. So, but you also did get some folks who are older than that, as well as some of these very sort of like 35, 45-year-old folks as well.
There are those, in that age group who are plugged in, as we say, and spend time, we can say not as much time as the younger ones spend.
Okay, great.
So marketing people would be interested to know that.
Okay, great. All right, so you mentioned that it was nationwide as we had requested, and I know you had some information about kind of some of the places that you got to, right?
We decided, we needed to go to the population centers. Right. So Citygate, a must. So we sent our enumerators, we were at Citygate, we were in San Fernando, Eden Center, we were on Chigbonis Main Road, we went to Siparia, Point Fortin, East-West Corridor. We are, as I say, about halfway through. So today we're on the road, we're in San Juan, we're in Ikwese, we're going to West Mall, we did Long Circular Mall. The intention is to do the Seaport, Airbridge, so that we get a sense of our Tobagonian sisters and brothers, what they are doing as well.
Okay, great. Yeah? Awesome. So, all right, well, let's, what we're going to do is we're going to get a little interactive. We did this yesterday. It seemed like it worked out. So we'll show some of the data a little bit later on. So one of our special thanks to Resonance Caribbean for setting this up for us. So let's start out with a poll. So here's what you need to do. On your mobile phone, this is free. Let me reiterate for those who weren't here yesterday. So if you dial the number that you see here, so it's kind of long, it's a USSD code, *190, *8, *21, and #, And here's what we want you to answer, right? You've got these 5 options. We want your opinion. 18 to 34-year-olds in Trinidad and Tobago, how much time do you think they spend consuming digital technology, digital media? And again, that's everything from, being on Facebook, BBMing, whatever the case is. So again, you dial *190, *8, *21 £, and let's see what folks think people are doing, right? Then we'll go into some of the data, and then we'll come back and we'll see how it matched up a little bit later on with what the actual data said, okay? So I'll give you guys a minute or a few seconds to do that. Great, all right, so let's dive in, all right? Let's check out some of this, let's check out what the actual survey data is saying. So here's the first thing, and I thought this was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
This is the entire segment, the full
Yeah.
segment, right? So tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here.
What we're seeing here is really that people spending a lot of time online. When I looked at it first, I said, but this is half their lives. When we think of 28% of those people who we surveyed, they're spending 31 hours and over. When we consider a work week to be 40 hours, right? What are they doing? So there's a lot of time there. It's interesting. It's food for thought for those people who want to market, to use a medium, a platform to sell a product.
Right.
So there's time being spent.
So if I understand this, because I know there are folks in the audience who are kind of starting to think about okay, tuning, like, okay, what does this mean for me in my organization? So what we're finding is if you look at the group that is highlighted, so more than 10 hours a week being spent online or consuming digital media, you add that up and you're getting 65% of the audience are spending that much time. That means obviously that they really are ever present in terms of their consumption of digital media. It's not, I'm at work and I'm not, and it's constant.
It's
right?
constant.
Okay.
It is definitely constant.
Great. So that means from a communication standpoint, it would seem for the marketers and communicators in the audience that you can think about that from your email marketing, your SMS marketing, and some of your various things. You can reach a large segment of this audience all of the time, which is interesting, right? So let's look a little bit deeper, because while you have the full swath of everyone, there's also ability to go into individual segments and subsegments and that sort of thing. So I think you brought, what you brought along was, let's pull that same
so we
thing
can
out.
break down, and depending on what the client wants, depending on the product or service that they're selling, if you want to focus or target a particular age group, we can tell you how much time that age group is spending, where they're spending their time.
Okay.
So the 16 to 24s, there we have it,
Great,
Yeah.
great. Okay, so let's look at another one. I thought this was also interesting. One of the things that folks are usually talking about and curious about is, okay, we know that Trinidad in particular and large parts of the Caribbean is Facebook crazy. But what has been harder, because Twitter doesn't make it as available, for example, or YouTube doesn't make it as available to just pull folks out, is to see some of these other platforms and to see what's sort of trending and growing. So what we see here is that 32% of people in this digitally enabled, digitally active segment saying that they have a social media account on Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we noticed that Instagram is kind of coming up a little bit.
It's coming up, but number one, it's still Facebook.
Okay.
We're looking at 97% of those people who we polled, they have a Facebook account.
Right.
Yeah, Twitter, it's there. YouTube, Instagram, they're all there, but it is still Facebook.
Okay, great. And then I think what we discussed, and I know is kind of on this study as well. I mean, we have one more visual of it, but that you can also then break this down. It comes up often that people sort of think that women are more active in Facebook, or that women are more likely to engage and comment and that sort of stuff. So I think we have some other statistics that are broken out that sort of say, okay, of that 97, so of this 97% that you're seeing up here, you can start to get a feel for within,
Yeah.
within the ages. What
The
you got.
women are on, they are on more often, they spend longer, longer periods of time on.
Okay, great. So let me see, kind of quick show of hands. Is anybody in their business more particularly focused on women as a subsegment based on whatever your product is, or okay? So see a few hands. So great. So you're starting to see a little bit more of where the women are engaging, and that you can really reach them in this way. And I know that there are some interesting kind of flip skew a little bit, where you start to look at, okay, the place where men are in the group started spending more time is on the visual,
Yeah.
the visual stuff.
The YouTube.
Right, okay, great. So YouTube, I see Instagram, even though that's a smaller overall percentage. So, it seems like there's an implication around, men and more visual stuff, which, to generalize a little bit, perhaps not surprising, right?
Right.
Great, okay. So let's go on and see what else. Let's go on and see what else we have. So this was how often people access their sites, right?
Again, daily.
Right. Okay. So you have a small 0.4% that are doing it on an hourly basis. Who knows how they're spending that much time on there? But really, there's a very large percentage of people that are on there every day.
Yeah, so we're on, we make sure we get on every day. Yeah.
Right.
And as women, again, we need to be on every day.
Right. Okay, great. Yeah. So in terms of looking at something like this now, where we start to see that, daily and weekly as well, so you kind of start to get a lot of this frequency. So when you're out and you're talking to these respondents in the field, are they giving any additional context as to what they do? Is that kind of captured within the survey, what they do when they're on these
Certainly
sites?
we ask, yes. So if you're online, you're spending all this time, what sites are you visiting?
Okay.
Yeah? So our survey captures that. I mean, we insisted that they tell us because, okay, so what are you doing?
Right, right.
And again, it's broken down, we can say women tend to visit, or it's trending towards, certain sites. Men are into music or into, so that.
Right. And are you also
blogs and.
Are you also capturing sort of, I'm spending time sharing photos versus I'm spending time, messaging or what have you? Okay, so all of that is going to be in this.
When are you on? What are you doing? So how much time is spent research, the search engines, or entertainment?
Okay, great, great. All right, so I think we have one more actual visual, and then I think the rest of it's going to be captured when the actual survey, when the full survey comes out. But we'll talk a little bit more about some of the other things that are in here as well. So again, in here we kind of have the ability to break it out so that we can see kind of overall sample on the daily, weekly, monthly, and then we'll start breaking it out. But actually, so here's a slightly different one, another breakout, but this is high-speed data access.
Yeah, because we thought it was important that we got from them what devices they were using and who was high-speed, who wanted to get into 4G. There's been a lot of advertisement, a lot of hype about that.
Right.
And again, what we found was really very interesting.
Right. So folks who may or may not be able to see this very clearly. So what we're seeing is of 16 to 24-year-olds in this segment right now, after a year, in the last year with 4G introduced and lots of money being spent on advertising and so on to drive people in. So we're seeing that 21% of people are saying that they actually have a 4G plan right now. And then you also, as you mentioned, asked about intent to upgrade.
Yes, because we said, okay, it's only been a year, it's new in terms of the market. So do you intend, within the next 3 to 6 months, to upgrade?
Okay.
So we have that information as
well.
Great.
So we'll close in terms of talking about some of the things that are still left in the survey, still left to be done. But just so I'm super clear, so you have 4G, you also have just general data plans. And
general data plans we've captured. There's an interest in, do you intend to get a tablet as well?
Okay, okay, great.
Right? So we've really designed these questions to capture everything that clients may want to know that will help them make some hard
Some
decisions.
Okay, so some interesting implications for those who are thinking about mobile applications, and should you invest more in mobile of this survey. So tell us a little bit more about when it's going to be all wrapped up.
We are just about halfway through, a little over 50%. Of the 2,000, the sample size, we have actually done about, let's say, 1,065 to date. We're on the road still today, tomorrow. We will be completing, I would say, by the end of this month, the end of April, and by the middle of May, the survey will be, the results will be available for sale. We can purchase the entire survey or specific areas that would, be of use to your particular industry.
And if someone wanted to get more questions in or get a spotlight on a particular area, is there still a way to?
There's still a way to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. All right. So let me ask if there are any questions or any comments, or folks who are interested in the implications of any of the data that you've seen shown already. Any questions come up, or does anyone want to understand more about how the survey was put together?
I'd like to say this is just really very high level, and it's somewhat of a teaser as to what is available. Yeah? You have questions?
Yeah, I see a couple hands.
I'm just curious if there was any comparison done to consumption of traditional media in comparison to digital data and mobile devices.
What we did, it was traditional. No, we looked at the digitally active persons and we specified what you're doing. So, yeah.
So it wasn't. So it wasn't that there was, how much time are you spending on TV, or it was more specific to.
It was
digital.
specific to digital.
Okay.
Can you tell us the actual name of the study and a bit about your company?
Okay, SacodaServ is a company that was formed about 8 years ago, and the focus is data analysis and collection. So we've been doing market research, we do mystery shopping, and specific surveys for companies, right? We do a lot of work in the energy sector as well, market research, companies wanting to enter the market, so we do that research. But the focus is now on data analysis, data collection.
And maybe as a follow-on, was there a part two?
In terms of the participants of your survey, you were saying that most of the people that you chose were within 16 to 24. Most of those people don't really have much buying power. What was the purpose of using those and using less of the people that actually have the power to spend money, make decisions in terms of a family decision-making process, etc.? What was your reason for that?
No, it's not that we, as you said, the survey was targeted to the younger of the population to look at the habits of these people. But while we focused on them, we did not neglect the older ones, yeah? But it is an up-and-coming market, so to speak. And yes, I agree that they may not have had the buying power, but they seem, from what we realize, they do get ahead. So
yeah, and I think so I think there was a part two of that question. So for the question before, so it's a digital habits and practices is the name of the study among that age group, but it's a digital habits and practices is the name of the study. And I think to the question about the 16 to 24-year-olds, there actually was, if I recall, there was some segmentation done around income, right? So I think it was greater than $5,000 monthly income for some of the older segments.
For the older segments, yeah.
Okay, and then
and the self-employed as well, because we did,
you did get some self-employed folks.
Folks.
Yeah, and I think the other part of that question about the younger folks with the buying power is, in general, sweet spot for a lot of businesses is 16 to 34, 18 to 34 is really where folks are interested, if only because they know that the younger segments A, they're a large percentage of our actual national population, and B, they are the customers of the future. So to the extent that folks are interested in that segment, that was a large part of why that audience was done. And at the end of the day, I think from our conversations, we will actually right-size the sample to
align
map
to the public 2011 census data.
Great, great, okay. Oh, there's a question in the middle. If we could get a mic, or if you say it, I'll repeat if there isn't a mic close at hand.
Morning, everyone. The data is, from a perspective of an educator, could be startling.
Yes.
I saw 97% on Facebook.
Yep.
And 65% between the age, spending 18 to between the age category 18 to 34, spending 65% of their time on the internet, something like that. What are the wider implications in the context of creating a knowledge-based society? Where do you think that data is pointing?
Well, certainly, I mean, when I looked at it, I remember commenting to GK that, what are organizations doing here? Because if you're spending all of this time online, it suggests that you're doing it during working hours. And do we have, our policies and procedures in place to prevent one, or are we encouraging this? And how are we going to utilize all of this time online to, our advantage? Yes.
And I would add, in terms of the other point you were making or raising, in terms of like as an educator or creating a knowledge-based society. I mean, for me, what this makes me think about Salman Khan. Has anybody heard about the Khan Academy in here? Anyone? Okay, a few hands. So this is a guy who is really being credited right now with revolutionizing education, right? And what he has found is Khan Academy, so you can check it out online. And it's basically an online set of education classes. He's changed the way that he delivers education. He's added a lot of interactivity, and he's finding that people who are using these tools are learning as well, if not better, and they're performing as well, if not better, than other folks. So for education, I think, the immediate implication is where we've seen, with the drive towards tertiary education in Trinidad and Tobago, more and more folks doing distance learning, more and more folks doing online courses. That just shows that there's an opportunity now, or it reinforces, I would say, that there's an opportunity to step into that breach, because while it's easy to look at this data and think about the fun and games, the fun and games aspect of it, that's okay, they're just on there doing apps and they're just doing BBM. There's also an implication for, this is a way that people are spending time, and the more that we can give them that fits into this type of framework, the better it is for us in terms of creating a knowledge-based society.
And clearly they are comfortable spending time like this.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
They're born into this era. This is their comfort level. So we now have to create the opportunities, capture them, using, reaching out to them, speak their language.
Where they're spending time. So I think there was a question in the center, if we could get a mic here. So just raise your hand and I think he'll see you, okay.
Good morning. My question really, well, I know this study was focused on Trinidad and Tobago, but are there any plans to do anything regionally? Because I'm sure quite a few of the participants here have branches, have agencies up the Caribbean, and it will be interesting to see how the behavior in terms of digital consumption changes from island to island to island.
Yeah,
I mean, I've heard that in Dominica people don't use Facebook.
Right.
I've heard that.
Well, we'll be able to tell you that perhaps in a few months, because we do have,
Yeah, so it has come up in terms of trying to extend it. I think, we're doing it a little bit of a lean startup approach, which is, pick a bite-sized specific geography and group, and get it out there and sort of see, you know, is this something that, you know, corporate Trinidad and you know, folks in the public sector are actually interested and want to access, because that is really what's gonna help fund an ability to go take it to other islands. So I think that's sort of we would love to, because we know that there's need, you know, it's very hard to access this data around the Caribbean. I guess we will find out in May whether or not there's a real appetite for folks to get behind something like this and you know, spend on it to get this extended.
You know, and I would like to add, this is just, you know, as we say, it's a teaser. We're halfway through. This is the first leg, and, you know, with having 50% complete, this is, you know, these are interim results. We will be able to drill down. We will be able to tell you, you know, young men in the West between the ages of 16 and 18, how much time they spend on YouTube, for example, you know, or we could tell you about what are the habits of the people in central Trinidad and what sides they are more inclined to go to, or South Trinidad. So we have that ability when we do gather all the, you know, the responses to provide, you know, reports specific to different
areas. Great. So I think we're gonna wrap up. I think what we can do is just talk very briefly about what is in the survey that folks haven't seen. So I know from some of it, so we talked a little bit about data plans, we talked a little bit about 4G. I think there is also...
Well, the specific sites.
Or types of sites. So I think there's another thing in terms of what types of sites are you visiting, so that, you know, you can, for those who have to think about, you know, do I need to buy ads on news sites versus entertainment sites versus, you know, search engine advertising, that sort of thing. So that information is in there as well. As well as sort of length of time.
Specific length of time. How long do you spend
on other things? Okay, great. All right, well, thanks, Wendy. So we are obviously, as folks who kind of asked you to kind of take this challenge and get this study done, very excited to see the full thing. So as you said, mid-May. And there is, you know, for folks who are interested, you can email CDX@CaribbeanIdeas.com. I think there's a line about this in the booklet to register your interest in getting access to this when it's done. Okay.
Thank you.
Great.